Our next speaker is from the arts faculty, Mr. Damien Samuels. Welcome, Damien. I hope you can hear us.
Hi there, and colleagues. I hope you all are well. Damien here. I'm going to try and share my screen, entire screen. Right, please let me know if you can see my screen.
It's coming up, Damien.
All right. While it's coming up, I just want to thank everyone. I find all these presentations to be very insightful. I've learned so much. I'm glad we're recording it so that I can refer back to it later and make some tweaks to my own teaching methods. So thank you all. Can you see anything?
Not yet on my side. So maybe just as Radley did, I think you must stop presenting and try again.
Okay, let me go stop sharing and present now. Your entire screen. Share. It says that I'm presenting to everyone, but I don't think you can see, or can you?
There we go. You had it.
Oh, you can see my presentation.
Yes. There we go.
Fantastic. All right. So, yeah, I'm Damien Samuels from an interdisciplinary humanities program. It's a first-year program based in the arts faculty, and we have about 230 students. The program is co-hosted by the Departments of English and History, and we are well supported by other departments like the Departments of Religion and Theology and Philosophy. We also have a memorandum of understanding with the Faculty of Education, just to give some context as to who we are and what we do. I'm going to try and toggle between screens as well. I hope that's okay. But let's get to the first slide. I'm not going to harp on this slide. I think that we all share the same frustrations and challenges with our students struggling to connect. They're having data and affordability issues. We had to completely rethink and overhaul the way we think about assessments, and we had to find new ways of engaging with students remotely. But despite all these challenges, as Juliet has just said, the one thing that we had in our control is that we could utilize our assets, our teaching assets, our resources. For one, I did not use eComfort optimally, right? I was one of those, Juliet, that you could say used eComfort as a dumping site. The only thing I used was the overview page and the course resources. So at that point, I had to sit down and think, okay, so what is at my disposal, and what can I use to effectively design and make this transition to online teaching? And of course, eComfort would be the first port of call, and I was absolutely astounded by what it could do. And also felt quite embarrassed that I've underutilized the resource. So what we had in our power to do as a team, the humanities team, was to familiarize ourselves and to optimize eComfort first. Although we do also bring in third-party applications, but let's get cracking. So our approach, we found ourselves all caught off guard. The types of emails and responses I got from our students, I could sense the anxiety. The entire teaching experience had been thrown into disarray, and they were all flustered, And the first year student usually does about 6 modules, and each of these lecturers or tutors would be emailing them or WhatsApping them and trying to vie for their attention and for their time. But also the emails were encouraging and it was empathetic, but we felt that in a time of uncertainty, what our students actually wanted and appreciated was a sense of to be given parameters in which to work. They wanted structure, they wanted a framework. So, which sounds counter-logical, you know, to the whole asynchronous approach to teaching. But once we set the parameters and the frameworks in which they could operate, for instance, we had a very clear teaching plan to mitigate confusion, which we uploaded on TConf and we shared via WhatsApp and email and so forth. So students knew exactly when they had to, what they had to do, by when, what were the forms of assessment, what we expected them in terms of reading and engagement, and there was no ambiguity. They knew exactly what they had to do. Whether they did it or not was another thing, but they were given a clear, simple plan to mitigate confusion. The other thing we found to be very important, that we needed to have consistent engagement with our students as lecturers and as tutors, but we also had to have consistent engagement with one another. As an interdisciplinary course, we combine various disciplines, and we needed to be able to speak to one another as well. So that is something we addressed as well. So the whole thing about asynchronous teaching, we found it to be useful, but it has its challenges as well. You know, as staff, we also were experiencing the same, well, not to the same extent as our students. Of course, there are class factors to consider, but we also had family issues, and we could not possibly be available in a worst case scenario to deliver teaching to 240 students at the time that they wanted it. But asynchronous teaching, learning, that we think is a very good idea. So for instance, we would deliver our lectures, whether it would be in narrated PowerPoints or videos or text, and the student could then access that information at the time convenient for them. But we had times set aside in which our students could engage with us as lecturers and as tutors. Of course, we will always be available if there's a query, right? But within limits. And we've also had adjusted our tasks in terms of, we were very flexible, but also within reason. I had a student emailing me saying, hey, I think our assignments are only due on the 31st of December. I'm like, no, that would be your latest resubmission date. So there's a sense of opportunism as well from students that we need to be cautious of. But anyway, we responded to the the crisis we found ourselves in by focusing on streamlining. So as an interdisciplinary course, we have many threads, and we also have multiple disciplines that we draw from. And it became absolutely clear and crucial that we hone in and focus only on core concepts and content, and that all ancillary kind of work we had to then set aside and do be more focused on what we thought were the main takeaways for students in the first year, in first interdisciplinary course. But what we did was we had weekly lessons pages, which we subdivided into weekly tutorials, weekly readings, and weekly lectures, which would be in PDF and movie file format. So I'm just going to toggle between my screens, and if somebody could just let me know if you are seeing me actually moving to a different screen.
Yes, Damien.
Okay, perfect. So this is how it would look, right? This is a typical page for our one module, Humanities 1-to-1. So in week 2, we would then, for instance, under lectures, we would have the lecture delivered in a PDF form, which is Data Light, and then we would also do a video where we would do a narrated slide presentation. We feel that the warmth of a human voice is also very important instead of just text. They need to hear the lecturers, they need to hear the enthusiasm, and they need to hear that they are as engaged with their content as we expect our students to be. So I'm not going to play the video, that's going to be too much of me. But yes, you can see that there's a video as well. And then what we've done was we broke up our readings from our reader into weekly manageable bites. So you can see, for instance, here would be a reading for week 1 and 2, and students would be able to navigate the site very easily, right? And we could point them to the right place at the right time when they ask without any confusion. And we felt that that was very important for students to know that they were operating in a structured environment despite working remotely. And then, of course, we broke up the tutorials as well into tutorial pages. If it can just go there. Okay, so this would be our tutorial page, which you'll find in text, right? So they would have self-study assignments or exercises, which they need to do each week. And to help them, we would have weekly Zoom workshops, tutorial workshops. Now, the tutorial workshops could only be attended by, say, 10%, which is a very low number of our students. So at any given time, we would have 20 students engaged in the Zoom class. But I guess that would be an indication of the students, the percentage of the students who actually had access to unlimited Wi-Fi. But what we did then, as you could see from the previous slide, we uploaded the video so that those students who have issues with connectivity and were not available at the time we did the class, or they didn't have data, they could then, at a time convenient to them, go and consult the tutorial class, which we feel was very useful. And the students normally who do attend ask questions that are relevant to those who cannot attend, right? So we get very little responses afterwards asking for further explanation. And we felt that the tutorial classes, rather than lectures, with a small group of engaged students who could attend and then uploading that as a resource for students who cannot, was very useful. Okay. I'm not going to go on this slide. This is basically what I've just shown you when I toggled my screen. Where are we now? Okay. Yeah. But I think I speak for many of us when I say the biggest problem was with student engagement. I think that was, for me, one of the things that I had to really try hard not to become despondent about. We had very few students who were engaged. Those who were engaged thoroughly, and the quality of the engagement was rich, but we had low numbers of engagement. And what we then tried to do, as I've just explained, we did the weekly Zoom tutorials, but we also engaged in chat rooms. And the chat rooms, if I can go back to this page over here, you can see that for me, the usefulness, not there, yeah, the usefulness of the chat rooms were that students often ended up debating core concepts with one another. And the same with the WhatsApp groups. We found that our intervention was just to, when they veer off track, that we need to just get them back on track and dealing with the content that we want them to deal with. But the chat rooms were really useful. But there too, the percentage of students engaged were very low, although the quality of the engagement was good. It was and rich. So excuse me?
You have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Oh my goodness. Okay, so with the weekly we also engage in weekly WhatsApp consultations with our students, and all our assessments we basically did via eComfa, and we also emphasized the quality of engagement rather than attendance. So we changed the weightings of our marks for students who were more engaged to get better marks. And we used all kinds of tutorial assignments, which were MCQs automatically marked by eComfa. And we also had a compulsory drafting process for main assignments, which we normally do, but during COVID-19, we asked students to submit at least 2 to 3 drafts. So we were plodding through the same drafts, but it's hard work, but we felt that students became incrementally better in the argumentation as well as their technical writing skills. So if I could just have 10 more seconds, I'll be done. I think that if I could conclude, what we've learned from this experience, there is a silver lining, although we have to be wary that the silver lining doesn't become the absolute new norm, but I'll get to that now. But we feel that sit-down assessments may be a thing of the past, but we need to address the spike in plagiarism, which is a major issue with students working remotely. We do use Turnitin, and it is a major deterrent. Many students do not plagiarize, but there are few diehards who will do anything to circumvent ICAMFA, and they find creative technical ways to copy. But as lecturers who are experienced, we will then find shifts in syntax and grammar, and we would know that something's up there. So yeah. We've used ICAMFA and Turnitin optimally, which we have not done before. And there's a clear shift in our attitude towards virtual learning as something positive, but we do think that remote learning or virtual learning is still a contingency or supplementary to the quality of human engagement. We use the dialogical approach to teaching, where the student in the lecture theatre is the main protagonist in their own learning, and they bring their subject positions and life experiences to the classroom. And there's absolutely nothing like looking a student in the eye and seeing that what you have just relayed to them has actually registered. So on that note, I think that just the last point is that if online teaching becomes a permanent feature of future education, there should be more investment made into training our staff and improving our offering to students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damien. And thank you for showing us that it's never too late to start your online journey. Just the other day, as you say, you were one of the people that were dumping, but now you can actually share best practices on a podium. So thank you for your efforts as well. And I'm sure you will continue to assist your colleagues on your side as well as you model the behavior. And we will continue to be there for you. So thank you very much, Damien.
Thank you, Juliet, and your team. And a special thanks to Norina. She's my go-to person. She's always available within reason, of course. And I appreciate you always being there, Norina.
Thank you, Damien.
Thank you.